20 years ago, while the women's movement was protesting for equal rights, one voice was heard from the other side, standing up for everything the women's movement was against. Phyllis Schlafly believed that women should support their husbands rather than themselves, and that every woman would best be served to serve her husband and family. She was arguably the driving force behind the defeat of the Equal Rights Amendment. Phyllis Schlafly became the voice for the traditional woman and the defender of traditional family values. She has been adored as the symbol for traditional womanhood, and she has been denounced as a traitor to her own sex and detested with great intensity. There is no middle ground with Phyllis Schlafly. You either love her or loathe her. Yet there is no denying that she is one of the most controversial women of our times. Mrs. Schlafly is an attorney, a mother of 6, a grandmother, and the founder of the Eagle Forum, an organization that lobbies for conservative values and issues. Today, she remains as vocal about women's issues as she was 20 years ago. Mrs. Schlafly has some definite opinions about what has happened over the past 2 decades and the way some women are living their lives.
20 years ago, you said that the feminist movement was going to be detrimental to our society, and here it is 20 years later. Has it been?
Yes.
In what ways?
I think it's made a lot of very unhappy women. 20 years later, they're now in their late 30s or early 40s. Many of them have given up their opportunities to have a husband and a family and children, and they're mad about the choices they made. They're unhappy that the feminist movement told them that career in their 20s would give them the most fulfillment and that husbands and children were unimportant. When they got to be in their late 30s or 40s, they realized that wasn't so.
Mm-hmm. But in essence, there are a lot of women who really did buy into the feminist movement.
Yes, there were.
And they said, and they are living it today. Do you think that they're not living the American dream?
A lot of them are happy with their choices, I'm sure. People are very different in their motivation. But by and large, if you look at the whole country, I would say most women would like to have a husband and children. If they devote their prime years of childbearing years and when they have good looks and good figure and virtue, if they pass all those by and devote it to working 60 hours a week in a profession, time passes them by. Mm-hmm. I went to law school after I was 50, but I certainly couldn't have had my 6 children after I was 50.
But weren't you, in essence, a working woman all of your life?
Of course I was working, but I wasn't employed outside the home. A mother who has 6 children works very hard indeed. I was always a full-time homemaker for 25 years. I think that a woman can indeed have it all, as I have had, if she realizes that she can't have it all at the same time. The ones who have really had it all in the family and career fields are those who did it at different times in their lives. I think the trendy word now is sequential careers. I think that a woman can spend the first 20 years of her life getting prepared, educating herself, preparing herself for life ahead. Then she can devote 20 years to raising the next generation. And she's still, at that time, only about 40, and she can do all kinds of interesting things, whatever her heart desires.
You also said for the past 2 decades, the fad of feminism has taught the falsehood that men and women, husbands and wives, fathers and mothers are interchangeable. And you're saying we're not.
That's right. A baby needs a mother and a father. A baby doesn't need 2 interchangeable fungibles, mm-hmm. parents who are the same. Most people have to have an income, an earned income, and a division of responsibility between the provider and the homemaker is what makes a successful marriage and family function.
So you don't think there's really any place for women today to really have an impact professionally in our society?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. If a woman wants to remain unmarried or remain childless, she can have a tremendous career. She can compete equally. The doors are wide open. But I look upon it as an advantage that a woman can divide up her life and enjoy motherhood and family and ultimately grandmotherhood. However, she won't reach the income levels of a man or a woman who devotes his or her whole life to developing a single career. Mm-hmm. These are choices that people make. And I have no problem with people who make a different choice from the one I made. The problem I see is that people who made the other choice, then 20 years later, they're not happy with the choice they made and they want somebody to do something about it.
So in other words, if a woman decides that she wants to be a professional woman, it's best that she remain unmarried and choose that career goal, stay on that track. If she chooses to be a mother, then stay at home with the children.
I wouldn't dictate to any other woman, but you look at the demographic facts out there, you will see that the higher the income and the more successful a single woman is, the less are her chances of marriage and the less are her chances of a family and the lifetime commitment to marriage. So these are choices she made. The divorce rate is very high among successful career women. The more money she makes, the more apt she is to divorce.
There are a lot of women who have to work, who are forced because of the economy. They have to work. They're single parents. They fall through the cracks. What about those women?
Of course. The women whose husbands have left them or divorced them or whatever have a very hard time. It's very difficult for a woman to hold down a job and raise children too. Indeed, she has to hold a job. She has to eat. But when you look at these so-called women who have to work, many of the women who are saying that are women who are wives who simply want a standard of living higher than their husband is producing. These are choices people make. I've made a point of looking into the income levels of many of these women who say they, quote, have to work, close quote, who are interviewed in the newspapers and on television. And you will find generally they are they have the two incomes at the $50,000 to $60,000 income level. And they have made the choice that they prefer to live at that level rather than get along on the husband's income.
But isn't that the American dream? I mean, we grow up thinking that we're supposed to provide and have all these luxuries and all these other things. It's going to take two people to do it. And if you have an educated woman along with an educated man who can do it, what's wrong with that?
The American dream is not hiring strangers to take care of your children. That is not the American dream. The American dream is a mother sacrificing her own career advancement in order to give her children the best care that she possibly can.
I still argue the point, though, that there are a lot of women out there who have to work. And I don't buy what you're saying, that because they want more for themselves, there are women who are just staying above the poverty level.
The median family income in this country for all families is $26,000 a year.
And that doesn't go very far.
Well,
where does $26,000 a year
but
go?
There are millions of people living at this level. This is the median income level. So if you have a two-earner family, you are living well above the average in this country.
And you want to educate your children on $26,000 a year, median income. So in other words, keep everybody at the bottom.
Oh, no. The American dream is to have prosperity with more jobs. But children haven't heard the call of women's liberation. They're just the same as they ever were. Mm-hmm. And they need the mother to look after them. Mm-hmm. And all the time on television and press, we see women in two-earner families at the $50,000 to $60,000 income level who are crying around that they want somebody else to pay for their daycare. That is not fair to the average family in this country who is living and paying taxes at the $26,000 level.
What about the young man who has grown up with the young woman in this age of feminism and change, who has the attitude that, yes, I can help you out, yes, this can be a two-party unison. What do you say to that young man?
Oh, I think young men are very confused. They don't know how to treat women. They don't even understand that feminists don't like to be called a lady. The feminist movement has confused a lot of young men.
That shocks me because I see young men so differently. I see them more compassionate. I see them relating to women in terms of their emotions, much more so than my father did. I see young men really allowing themselves to come into the woman's world and understand what her problems are and what her frustrations are. There's a lot more compassion today,
Maybe he's just found it easier to get her to sleep with him. Because part of the feminist movement has been to say we have to get rid of the double standard, women can be just as sexually liberated as men. And there is a high rate of young women who have abandoned their virtue in order to be just like men.
Okay, so for the next 20 years, where are we headed, as you see it? What's going to happen to the women's movement? Are you going to win? Is the feminist movement going to win? Who's going to come out on top? Are the men going to be back on top?
I would not call it the women's movement. I would call that the feminist women's movement, and our movement the pro-family women's movement. And it is a division. Some men will say, why don't you women get together and decide what you want? But I would say, does anybody tell George Bush to get together with Mike Dukakis and decide what you men want? They are going in different directions. The feminists and the pro-family women are going in opposite directions. And I feel that those who make a family choice will have a happier life, and those who make the feminist choice, unfortunately, end up very bitter. Every woman can make her own choice, and I wouldn't make the choice for any other woman. But I would say it's worth it to give those years to a new baby who needs his mother so badly. And it is worth it to give up the standard of living, the career advancement, at least for those early years. And those who do it are usually well pleased with the result.